Hi, this is Randy. We're back to continue Mary's story. She's racked her brains trying to figure out a way to describe what happened next. There's a lot of triangulation, and she's also driving in a vehicle, so you might hear some background noises because she's on a conference call with me right now. So, Mary, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes. I almost thought I couldn't there for a second. Hi, everybody. Sorry it took so long to make another video.
Okay, well, you can start where we left off was you had several mini breakups with the narcissist, and that was during phase 2 of your relationship. And those mini breakups were basically about silly, ridiculous things. And then there was the final breakup with the narcissist for the second time. So tell us that.
Okay, well, the final breakup really wasn't that final, but it was the end of phase 2 anyway. We were in the end game, according to him. And so, I had insurance that would allow us to go see a couples counselor. And so we started to see a couples counselor. And this couples counselor made him promise to see it through to the end and, to see it through and to stick with me and not to break up with me and, to work on our problems. And he made that promise that he would. But then during one of the sessions, he didn't seem to like something I said. And, he felt that I had already apologized for it, and why am I rehashing it? And it was another dumb fight, another stupid one over one of his sons. And, he just wanted to sit there and criticize me. So if I said anything at the couples counselor, well, of course he had a fit about it. And so he ended up, we had met at the couples counselor that night, we had 2 separate cars. And he pretty much dumped me right in the parking lot. He walked out of the counseling session, and, he said it's over. And it was right before Christmas. I had taken the next day off to go to his work party with him and canceled that. And he said, nope, we're done. We're broken up. So he left me there in the parking lot, hysterical. And that was the end of phase 2, kind of. So, yeah, we had so it is, after that I was devastated, and it had been a long time, it was really, this time it really felt final. So, then about a month or so went by, and I had a weak moment, and I texted him late at night, and, I told him I missed him, and he texted me back, and next thing you know, I'm back at his house again, and, here we are, we slept together, and, we started back up slowly, and we started hanging out a little bit, and, we told each other we were going to spend Valentine's Day together, and so we had plans on Valentine's Day, and I went to his house for Valentine's Day, and we were going to spend the evening together, and then he broke it off with me for good this time, or at least so he said. So he had met some girl, and her name was Peggy, and Peggy happened to live two blocks away from my house. I found that out later, but he was going to try things out with her, and so he ended it with me on Valentine's Day. So he sure knows how to pick the holidays. So, Christmas on Valentine's Day. And he said some interesting things to me that night. He told me he's angry at women. He said that he's ugly inside. He said I was right about some of the things I said about him in the beginning. I said he was a wolf in sheep's clothing from the very beginning, and he said, I agree, I am a wolf in sheep's clothing. He said he's angry with his mother for dying, and he's angry with women for not being interested in him when he was a teenager, and all this stuff. But anyway, he ended up breaking it off with me, and that time was pretty much for a long time. I didn't get back with him right away after that. That was the short and abridged version of what happened there.
Okay, so then you were not really with him for about how long? A year and a half?
It has been a really long time. I want to say at least a year or so. it later on, how I found out about her and a bunch of the other things that happened with some of his later girlfriends after me. But he was dating her for a while, and then I contacted him because I have something at my house of his that I thought he might want. And it was an old stuffed animal that he made when he was a kid at home back. And I said, listen, I'm going to throw this away unless you want it. So if you want it, I will be happy to give it back to you. And he said, well, leave it on your porch. So I didn't leave it on my porch. I was on my porch with it, and he drove up to pick it up, and I was there on the porch. And so he was forced to have to talk to me. And then he admitted that he had started going out with that same girl from a few videos back. I called her Freaky Girl. Now he's back with her, and her real name is Beth. Well, her real name in this video is Beth. and this girl had caused me some grief during my relationship with him with all the triangulation. And so I told him, I said, well, you tell Beth to fuck herself, or something like that. And so what he did then was he went and he told Beth that I said that. And so that night, I heard from Beth. She Facebook messaged me, and she wrote to me, the note told me, what you said, and I just want you to know that's what I've been doing all night. I've been, messing him all night long. And, he's my knight in shining armor, and he's mine now, and you need to leave him alone, and, he's the one for me, he's my Prince Charming, all this stuff. And I just warned her, I said, look, he's going to screw you up so bad. I said, if you think you've been in bad relationships before, you haven't seen anything yet. And so I tried to warn her on the Facebook message, and I sent her some articles about narcissism, because at that time, I had found out some things. And she ignored it. But then a few months later, I heard from her. She found me on LinkedIn because I blocked her off of Facebook. And she wrote me a letter, and she said, I am so sorry. You were right about him. He is a nightmare. I wish I would have listened to you. He did to me what he did to you. And I said, well, why don't you give me a call? And so she and I started talking on the phone. And that's when I found out all sorts of screwed up things about him. It just gets so warped from this point, the things that I had heard, I couldn't believe my ears.
Okay, start talking. We got a few more minutes.
All right, well, she told me that he was dating Peggy, and he had called Beth to hang out with both of them. So here's more triangulation. Now, Beth was just a friend of his at the time. He had brought her back he recycled her from back before I was dating him. And they were just friends. Beth was dating some other guy, another abusive jerk. And according to Beth, he, Peggy and Beth went out. And, Beth is freaky girl, and she's gone to sex clubs and done all these crazy things. And he proceeded to get Beth and Peggy drunk and initiated a threesome between both of them. And so those three had a threesome. Of course I was shocked to hear all this. I was like, holy, this is so
Oh, open relationship.
Mm-hmm. So she tries to put up with that as long as she could. I guess, dated other guys, he dated other girls, but finally she couldn't take it anymore. And, we're talking 3 years or so have passed already since I was with him. And she couldn't take it anymore, and it was a real nasty breakup. And she ended up moving out, and she couldn't move back to her house because she had already leased it out. So she had to move into a crappy apartment with her girls. And at that point, I was back in the picture, and he was triangulating me with her. And I'm also keeping all this from Beth. Beth and I had sort of become friends. I helped her get over him. All that stuff was triggering me, made me miss him for some reason, and I came back into the picture. And so I'm now being triangulated with Beth. And in a way, with Peggy, and in a way with Beth, too. So, we're talking love triangles, rectangles, and, polygons and everything else under the sun with this guy. And, I don't know if we have more time, but it just doesn't end there. There's more. Do we have time? Or?
We have about a minute left.
Well, let's just stop here. We'll make another video because there's too much, but I mistakenly did get back involved with him sexually, and he let Peggy know all about it. So she contacted me and told me he's just going to use you and throw you away, and it just became another triangulation, and we'll have to continue more in part 2 because there's just too much.
Right, so the narc has a never-ending need for different sources of supply and to keep everybody hanging, and then to make promises that he can't keep, to tell everybody what the stipulations are in order to stay with him, and then he has no boundaries. He shares everything with everyone else to keep them in a heightened sense of insecurity and to keep them visualizing and fantasizing about what might be going on with the other women, and totally in an insecure state of panic and uncertainty. So
yes, and I only wish I was smarter and I didn't get back involved with him, but I did, and I made that mistake. So
all right, thanks a lot. That was really good. We'll continue on when you're ready. And thanks for listening, everyone. Bye-bye.